Okay, so a little update. We made the AC hose, the number 8 hose from the compressor to the top of the condenser. That hose is built and installed. We also ran the number 10 hose from the compressor back through the firewall. We connected from the hard line that goes to the bottom of the condenser, the number 6 hose from the dryer back into the firewall. So at this point, our AC system is pretty well plumbed except for the connections on the evaporator inside the car. We connected standard 5/8 heater hose to the 2 hose barbs that were on the evaporator kit, on the heater core side of the evaporator kit inside the car. We just connected a big long section and then cut it and fished those hoses up through the firewall. This inside lower hose, we cut to length, and I installed the heater control valve on the 5/8 heater hose with just a hose clamp. So that is standard 5/8 heater hose connecting to the heater control valve. The arrow, make sure you check the direction of flow on your heater control valve. The arrow is pointing back towards the inside of the car. So our water flow will flow from the 3/8 port on the water pump. The smaller port on your water pump's the pressure port. The larger port, the 1/2-inch port on your water pump, is the return port. So we're going to connect from the 3/8 port on the water pump into the heater control valve, and then the 1/2-inch port will just be another hose that comes back up through here, and it'll connect to here. So this is 5/8 heater hose. Both fittings, both ports inside the car are standard 5/8 heater hose. We're going to make the transition out here between the inner fender panel and outer fender panel from the ugly 5/8 heater hose over to the Pure Stealth reduced barrier heater hose. So I've got the heater control valve installed. I'm going to cut the return hose close to the firewall here. And we'll get rid of the rest of this 5/8 heater hose. And we have some adapters. These adapters are designed to go from, it's actually an easy clip, it's an easy clip part. This fits the 5/8 heater hose. This is designed to work with easy clip hose. Easy clip hose and reduced barrier are the same ID, same OD. So I'm going to push this end into the 5/8 heater hose, attach it with a clamp, and then my number 10 reduced barrier AC hose will slide onto here. I'll attach that with a clamp. All of this will be hidden between the inner fender panel and outer fender panel. So at the end of the day, when the car is completely assembled, all you will see is the more attractive Pure Stealth AC and heater hoses. So we'll get that installed and we'll check back. So we're inside the car. We have 2 hoses that we need to make connections for to complete the air conditioning side of this equation. So on this block, I have a number 6 high pressure fitting and a number 10 suction fitting. The 2 fittings that came in the hose kit are both 90 degrees. And so in this instance, I've installed 45-degree fittings instead of the 90s. The 45s, I believe, are going to work a little better for us. So this is another example of that exchange program. We can send the 2 90-degree fittings back and exchange those for the 2 45-degree fittings. The number 6 line will loop up here. We'll crimp it onto that hose. The number 10 hose will loop up like that. We'll crimp those on. With that handheld hydraulic crimper, we can make those crimps right here in the car without fishing the hoses back through the firewall again. So we'll get those crimped on, and then we'll check back. So we exchanged the 90-degree fittings that came in the kit for the evaporator with 45s. I've cut the 2 hoses to length, crimped the 2 fittings on, and so that's connected there. So basically at this point, our air conditioning system is completely plumbed. The only thing we have remaining with this project are the 2 heater hoses from the water pump up through the inner fender panel, between the inner fender panel and outer fender panel, to the heater control valve and to the 5/8 hose that we've protruded through the firewall. So we'll do that next, and that should wrap up the air conditioning system. So now we've completed the air conditioning and the heater plumbing on the 66 Chevelle. So we'll kind of give you a quick walkthrough of how it all works. We've come out of the back of this rear exit compressor from the number 8 fitting straight down, and then we've looped forward to the number 8 fitting on the condenser hard line. The number 10 suction line, that hose routes down, comes back up right here, and it goes between the inner fender panel and outer fender panel into the firewall, into the evaporator. The number 6 line is a hard line from the bottom of the condenser, comes up here through the dryer. We used a number 6 90-degree fitting, and then the high pressure line comes into the firewall here, and we've got that attached to the condenser on the inside. These are our 2 heater hoses. Again, this is an LS engine. I had Brian pull out the factory heater barbs and drill and tap those 2 ports. The rear port is a 3/8 pipe thread, so that's the smaller of the 2. That rear port is the pressure port. So pressurized water is going to come through this back hose to the heater control valve, which is mounted right in front of the firewall. You won't see it because the inner fender panel is going to cover it up from the bottom. The outer fender is going to cover it up from the top. So it'll be hidden back here. There's the wires for it. All of that will be tucked away between the inner and outer fender panel. And then the return heater line is this front one off of the water pump that goes into the 1/2-inch pipe thread port. And it comes back here, and it just connects to the 5/8 heater hose that we ran through the firewall. So a little bit of stuff going on right here. Several hose clamps. We make the transition from 5/8 heater hose to number 10 AC hose. All of that happens right here, but this is tucked away between the inner fender panel and outer fender panel where it won't be visible. So we'll go ahead and continue with a little more plumbing. When we're all finished, we'll hang the outer fender panel on so that you can see the finished product. We have a few zip ties currently in place to kind of hold things where we want them to be. Because Brian works at Locar. Locar owns a product line called Made For You, and Made For You offers some really neat hose management products, clips and hose separators and so on. So Brian will go back and install hose separators and clips to hold all the hoses in place once we complete our work here. So that'll finish up that project. We'll move on to the power steering system, and then we've got some fuel lines to build for this car as well.